Hello, I'm Professor Lyons, and this is the overview of the Information Security, or INFS, concentration for IT 293. These are the topics that I'll be covering in this brief presentation. Let me start first with the references. I took this information from the information in the university catalogue as it is today for the spring 2011 semester, plus an additional entry that will be in the new catalogue that will be published in the fall this year. And I also relied on information available on the Applied IT departmental website. Those are the official sources of information, particularly the catalogue is the official source of course information for the university. So if you have any queries about anything that's presented here, if you want to find the definitive source, I suggest you go and read the information there. Another useful reference source, as I've indicated here on the bottom of the slide, are syllabi from previous semesters. But be aware that things do change from time to time. So in many cases, what happens in one semester will be very similar to what happens in the following semester, but there is potential that those things change. So until a syllabus is available for a semester, the previous syllabus is probably your best guide as to the actual activities in any particular course. The concentration that I'm talking about here, information security, is one of the 4 that we have effective fall 2007, which for almost all students who are seeing this video, you'll be in a catalogue year equal to or greater than fall 2007. So we have these 4 concentrations, and one of them is information security, INFS, that I'm talking about today. For each concentration, there is a list of courses that fulfill that concentration. And there are some courses that span 2 or perhaps even more than 2 concentrations. So a particular course might apply, for example, to both the information security concentration and the networking and telecommunications concentration. That applies to some courses, but those are the minority. In order to graduate from the IT major, you need to complete a concentration. And in order to do that, first you need to declare the concentration. You need to fill out a form and sign it saying that you have chosen a particular concentration. You can change your mind about that any time up until you apply for graduation. So you can start in one concentration. If you decide that's not for you, you can change it. That's just a matter of going to the office and filling out another form. So you need to declare the concentration prior to graduation. Also prior to graduation, you need to complete at least 4 out of 5 courses in the concentration from that assigned list. So if you choose the information security concentration, you must do at least 4 courses from the information security list. And then you need to do a 5th course to fill out the concentration. And it can be from the same concentration or from one of the other concentrations. So to put this simply, you can do 4 information security courses plus 1 from something else, or you can do 5 information security courses. Okay, so this is me. I'm Professor Lyons. I'm a full-time faculty member in the Department of Applied IT. I coordinate the information security courses in the undergraduate IT degree, the BS in IT, and I teach several of the courses in this concentration. And as coordinator, I oversee the faculty who are teaching it, the other faculty. For this concentration, the other faculty are typically adjunct professors. Many of them currently working in security-related positions in industry. The courses applicable to information security, regardless of your concentration, all IT majors have to take IT 223. That's one of our core courses in the IT major. So everyone takes IT 223. You must have at least 1 security course. For the information security concentration, the courses assigned to it consist of these 5 that are in blue that are in the current catalogue as of spring 2011, and as of fall 2011 we'll be adding the 6th one at the bottom. So to complete the concentration, you need to do 4 from this list plus 1 from any list. This diagram here shows prerequisite relationships between the required course, IT 223, and then in yellow, the courses that will be applicable as of fall 2011. Note that IT 366 is a prerequisite for IT 466 and IT 467. So there's a number of different ways that you could do at least 4 courses in this concentration. You could simply do 353, 357, 366, 462. In order to do any of these courses, you first need a C or better in IT 223. Within the IT major, any course used as a prerequisite for another course, you must have a grade of C or better in the prerequisite. This is very important that you understand this. A grade of C- or D is a passing grade, but not enough to use it as a prerequisite. So if you have a C- or a D in IT 223, and you want to do any of these courses, whether you're in this concentration or another one, you would need to repeat IT 223 to get a C or better. The same will apply to IT 366 because it's a prerequisite for 466 and 467. You will need a C or better in that course if you want to take one of the others. While we're here, I'll just mention that the current plan is that we will alternate IT 466 and IT 467. IT 466 will typically run in the spring semesters, and IT 467 will typically run in the fall semesters. Students often ask, what do we run in summer? It's very hard to say because summer varies from year to year. It depends which faculty want to teach and how much demand we think we're going to have for courses. Of these courses, it's most likely that in summer we would teach one section of IT 357 and one section of IT 366, and unlikely that we would teach any of the others. So that's what we've done for the past couple of summers, and we plan to do that again for the current summer. But summer, until the actual schedule comes out to show what courses are being run, we cannot say for sure. I'm going to briefly go over each of these courses to give you an idea of what is in them. IT 223, if you haven't taken that already, is a fundamentals course. So it introduces the concept of information security and some of the important fundamental concepts that you're going to need to do further work in security. So we talk about information security services. By services, I mean an abstract definition of some benefit we give to our users. And an example of a service is confidentiality, the idea that we try to stop other people from being able to read data that should be restricted just between 2 or a small number of people. That would be an example of a service. We talk about threats to information security. A threat is a potential violation, anything that could go wrong. We talk about attacks on security. Attacks are committed by people, and they require malicious intent to violate security. Unfortunately, not everybody is nice. People do things to other people that's inappropriate, and oftentimes those occur in the form of attacks where someone's deliberately trying to violate our security. We talk about the importance of policy. We can't just throw technology at a problem without understanding what is needed. So a policy is the place where we define the services that we need. Having done an analysis of threats and attacks, policy then is where we state what services are required, and that's the guiding document to decide what we actually do about it. Then we spend some time talking about risk management. We can't solve all of our problems. We don't have enough money, we don't have enough time, we don't have enough people, and the benefits of doing it may not be worth it. Sorry, the cost of doing it may not be worth the benefits we get from it. So part of what we do is to make an intelligent decision about the level of risk and what level of investment we want to make to address that risk. IT 223, we have started offering typically one section a semester online and 4 or 5 sections of it in the classroom. If you take an online section, there are 2 exams, a midterm and final exam, and those require in-person attendance or a proctored exam at some other location. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to take any course in the INFS concentration, whether that is your concentration or not. If you're in another concentration and you want to take it as that optional 5th course out of concentration, you still need a C or better in IT 223. So you can pass IT 223 with a C- or a D, but then you cannot take any of the courses from the list that I showed a couple of slides back. IT 353 is one of our concentration courses. It's called Information Defense Technology. And we look at the use of information technology in the context of both warfare, offensively and defensively, and from a civil defense aspect. We spend a lot of time talking about information warfare and the role information plays in modern warfare. If you look at what's happening around the world today, we've got conflicts, the US military involved in some, other places we've got civil war, we've got revolutions that are happening right now. We've just had revolutions or close to it in places like Tunisia, Egypt, currently in Libya, and Bahrain. And in some of those places, we see that information is a valuable asset on both sides. This course we only offer in the classroom. There are no online versions of this course for a couple of reasons. One is that students do work together in teams each week, so they need to be face-to-face having discussions within their team and with other teams. That needs to be done face-to-face. That can't be done online. And also we do some hands-on work with technology. At the end of the course, we end up with a cyber warfare exercise where we use physical equipment and we have sides that are conducting warlike activities against each other. So this is not something that can be done remotely. Because so much of it is team-based, part of the final grade for this course is based on peer evaluation. So you'll be assigned to a team, and at the end of the semester, you will rank yourself and the other members of your team relative to each other, and those ratings the students give to each other are part of the input for the final grade for this course. So you need to understand that going into this course, you will be working in teams, and your effort in your teamwork and the value to your team will be what determines part of your final grade. In order to take this course, the prerequisites are IT 101, IT 103, and IT 223, as we explained before. And you would need a C or better in each of those courses prior to taking this course. There is also the possibility of permission of the department if you are missing one or more of those. Please understand, permission of department is an exceptional condition, not just something you can ask for. So this would typically only be where a student has extensive experience, perhaps in one of the prerequisite course areas, and has not yet taken it, or for some reason is going to be waived out of that course. Most students do not qualify for permission if they do not have a C or better in each of those 3 courses. IT 357 covers information technology in the context of criminal justice. So IT as a tool to commit crime, and IT as a tool to prevent or detect crime, and once a crime has been detected, then going through the legal process. We spent a lot of time talking about computer-related law, computer-related crime, forensics, particularly in the computer environment. So this is not like CSI on TV. We talk some about some of those processes, but the particular forensics here are not blood and DNA and fingerprints. It is digital evidence or digital forensics investigating, for example, the data that might be stored on some computing device. We talk about evidence handling and the legal process. In this course, we experiment with some real-world tools that are used by computer forensics people. This course, at the moment, is offered in the classroom. We're just about to try offering it online. The tools that are needed are all software tools, and there is one session, one or perhaps 2 sessions, where there's going to be lab work where the software is not freely available, so we have copies of it that are licensed, and also where there's some activities involving hardware. There's some particular hardware that students get to experiment with, and that requires in-person attendance. So for the online sections, you would need to attend both exams for the midterm and the final, and 1 or more specified lab sessions that will be held in an in-person setting. The rest of it is then done online. A substantial part of this course involves, there's a big project that involves, you get given some digital evidence, you have to analyze it, use the tools, try and discover what's there, then interpret what it means, and prepare a report based on your analysis. And we have a crime scene that we set up. Students go in, they practice crime scene procedures, they gather data, and then based on the data, they then individually write a report. The report is similar to what would be submitted by an expert witness in a court case. So there's a lot of writing in that report, and that report is a substantial part of the grade. So strong written skills are important for students taking this course. Prerequisites are IT 223 as usual and IT 103. And again, we have the possibility of an exception for permission of the department, but that is rarely given, and only people have industry experience in the prerequisite areas. Most students don't qualify for that. IT 462, and I'm skipping them out of sequence for a reason here. Here we talk about principles of IT security at the organizational context, and we go beyond what we do in IT 223, going to particularly the leadership and management levels of an organization, talk about what they would do. We talk about IT-related law, not just the computer crime stuff from 357, but the legal aspects of IT, the social aspects, the business impacts, and we talk some about the personal impacts, you as a consumer user of IT. At the moment, we have one section of this course each spring and fall, and it's only in the classroom. One of the reasons for that is students are required to make several in-person presentations. So almost every week, there's some number of students who have to stand up in front of the class and give an oral report on a relevant topic that they've gathered from current affairs or news or related to course content. This course also involves a lot of written work, a lot of reading and a lot of writing. It's not quite qualifying as a writing-intensive course, but there is a lot of reading and writing in this course. So it involves research, looking at reference articles, online activities. Some of the reference materials are not available online, so it involves some library work and things like that. Prerequisites for this course are IT 212 and IT 223. And again, the possibility of permission, most students wouldn't qualify. IT 366 is called Network Security 1. And here we focus on information security, particularly in the context of networking, network-enabled applications. So many of the applications we use today, particularly computer-related things, but if you think about things like using a cell phone to make calls to voice, to send text messages, to check things on the web, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff that we do, email and so on, all require a network, typically the internet or a similar technology. So in this course we talk about the technologies in that environment used to provide certain types of security, particularly starting from the information security services that we did in IT 223. This course we offer both online and in the classroom, and as we talked about earlier, for the online sections, for this course you need to attend a midterm exam and then a final exam in a classroom setting. In this course we get into algorithms as part of cryptography, and you'll see the prerequisites are IT 223 as usual, and then either IT 108 or 206. IT 106, 206 is a pairing that will eventually replace IT 108. So you need to show essentially sophomore level proficiency in programming, not because we're going to make you write code, but you need to understand enough about programming to understand the concept of algorithms. So if you want to take this course, you need to get a C or better in that programming course, IT 108 or IT 266. We're not going to make you write code, but having understood enough about programming to get a C or better in those courses, you will then not have any problem understanding when we talk about algorithms in this course. And as we showed earlier on the map, this course is a prerequisite for both 466 and 467. So if you take this course and want to do one of those, you need to get a C or better in this course. So the first follow-on course from 366 is IT 466, Network Security 2. And here we go into a more detailed study of those technologies. We get into the details of certain algorithms for different cryptographic functions. We look at how to analyze data. We look at security at different layers in the theoretical layered model. And we talk about security in e-commerce. When you go to buy something online at a website, what security can we provide? What issues are there? At the moment, this course we're only doing online. We typically only have one section of it each calendar year. This is kind of a specialty course for people who really want to get into network security details from and particularly a theoretical perspective. This is really understanding how these things work, what their characteristics are, what they're suitable for, and so on. So it's online only. Again, midterm and final exams in the classroom setting, otherwise online. And this course has a lot of prerequisites because you need to be fluent in networking and you need to be fluent in math. So we've got IT 206 or 108 that shows programming, IT 223 as usual, IT 341 to show networking proficiency, IT 366 is the network security 1 that precedes this, and then you've got to demonstrate mathematical proficiency with a C or better in Math 112 or Math 125, one of the two discrete math courses for the major. Because this course has so many prerequisites, there's not many students who have taken those prerequisites prior to their final semester and who are interested in this. So this tends to be very much typically a small section, maybe 15 students rather than some of the larger ones that we get, and we really get into some details of how these things work. Starting fall of 2011, we've got a new course we're calling IT 467 Network Defense. We've run it once before when it was called IT 499 Section 2. It was a special topics. It was kind of an experimental offering. That's now finalized into this IT 467. Whereas 466 is a theoretical analysis of some technologies, this course is very much hands-on experience. So we actually use some tools. We look at real-world attacks. We actually attack our own systems, see how the attacks work, and we see how we can defend them. So this is using real tools that people would use both on the attack and from a defensive perspective, because you've got to have the ability to attack it in order to defend against it. From this course, I select students to represent Mason at a national collegiate competition for cyber defense, where students are given a collection of servers, and there's a professional team of hackers called the Red Team that try to break the students' systems. So students who do well in this course are the prime candidates for selection to represent Mason in that varsity competition. This is a hands-on course, and we only do it in the classroom. We use some specialized technology, both particularly software that's licensed, and we set up a protected environment where we can experiment with some dangerous software without risking damaging real systems. So we only do this in the classroom. The prerequisites for this are 366 Network Security 1 and 341, which shows proficiency in networking. We considered making IT 342 a prerequisite, but because that is a course only in the networking concentration, which is not this one, we decided not to make it a requirement. That would restrict it far, I think, too much. There would be many students who would be crossing both there. But certainly that's an advantage. If you were considering doing this course and you have not yet decided what your concentration courses would be, I would suggest doing 4 courses out of network security and considering taking the 5th course rather than being a security course, make it IT 342, which focuses on operating systems. Particularly for those students who go to the competition, they need to be proficient in different operating systems and the security things that an administrator has to do in order to protect that system. So those are the courses in this concentration. I've got a few questions that I've been asked a lot over the years. Students say, what concentration should I choose? I can't choose one. I always say, well, it depends why you want to choose it. In general, I would say choose one that has courses you think you would be interested in, that you'll be motivated to get into those courses, and courses that you think you'll do well academically in. I understand you'd like to do things that are interesting, but if you're at school, in order to get good grades, in order to get a good job, pick something that you expect that you will do well in. So, for example, if you're not very strong in math, I wouldn't suggest doing IT 466. We spend a lot of time in the mathematical analysis of algorithms. So it might be interesting, but you might not expect you would do well there if you have poor math skills. And so look at the concentration, see what areas you think you're interested in, and look at each course to see what it requires and see whether you will do well in that you expect to. Students say, well, okay, what jobs, or what's concentration going to have the best jobs or the most jobs or whatever? I don't believe there's a significant difference between the concentrations. There's jobs out there for all of them. Students who do well in their studies tend to get good jobs. So the students who do well get good jobs. A lot of our students have jobs lined up before they graduate, and they come from all of our concentrations. I know students who've got good jobs before graduation in each of the concentrations we have. On the other hand, if you have a weak academic record, if you graduate with a poor GPA, lots of D's on your transcript, particularly in your final couple of semesters, when you do the capstone sequence, IT 492, 493, that is very important because that shows your ability to work in a team on a real business project. So if you've got weak grades, regardless of what concentration you're in, particularly in the current economy, you can expect to have trouble lining up one of those really good jobs. And students with weak academic records often they go a long time before they get a job, and then they may not get a job that they think is terribly good and doesn't pay very well. And so this is, when you get to graduation and you get into job-seeking time, that's where it really starts to depend heavily on the grades that you've got. And again, I don't think there's a significant difference between the concentrations. This applies across all of them. So students say, okay, if I take the security concentration, what kind of job am I likely to end up with? Students end up with all kinds of jobs. Some students take a concentration and end up with a job that is completely different. That's unusual, but it certainly happens. But this slide here lists some of the types of jobs that students have ended up in having taken the INFS concentration. I will tell you, I had a student who took a course, and 2 or 3 months after graduation, sent me an email. She'd been looking for a job, and she went on an interview, and she said every question they asked her was about security, and she was glad she'd taken the security concentration because that was the security position they were looking for. And she said she felt confident enough to answer those questions based on her studies, and she ended up getting a good job. Okay, so understanding what you're interested in, doing well in your studies, and then trying to find the right kind of job to match what you've got, I think is critical. Some students, I think, spend a lot of time applying for jobs of any kind, hoping they'll get something. Maybe they go on a lot of interviews and they don't land a job. It's because they're just not a terribly good fit for what the company's looking for. So I don't think this concentration is any better or worse than any of the others for that. There's certainly a lot of students interested in the security field, and there are plenty of jobs there, but that's true for the other concentrations as well. And looking at these jobs, you can see this covers a very broad spectrum of IT in general. The final question I want to get into is students say, oh, this hacking seems really interesting. I really want to get and break into other people's systems. How can I get paid to do that? Well, other than a life of crime, working for the mafia or something like that, I'm not sure that's a realistic expectation. None of my graduates from the bachelor's degree level have gone into that type of job straight away. And so if you'd like to be a penetration tester, a professional hacker, some people say, it's highly unlikely someone's going to hire a college graduate to do that for a couple of reasons. One is there are plenty of hackers out there already. If you want to test the security of the system, it's not hard to find people to attack it. You simply put it online, and pretty quickly people discover it and start trying to break it. What people really need are defenders, not attackers. They want people to understand, what do we need to defend against, what is it going to cost in order to do it, what are the benefits, how should we handle incidents and things like that. So we really don't need terribly many more hackers. There are plenty of those. What we need is professional system defenders. There is a market for professional hackers, but it is very small. There are a few people who do this. They make good money doing it, but I wouldn't say that they are overemployed. Sometimes they don't have enough work to keep them busy. They make a lot of money, so that's okay with them. Those people have years and years of experience in network security, and they have a very strong background with high-profile clients that they can point to on their resume in order to do this. And I know some of these people, and none of them come to me and say, hey, I'm looking to hire someone new to help me out with what I'm doing. So there's a kind of a closed circle of people who do this. They do it very well, but they've been doing it for years and years and years. It's very hard to break into. So I want to make sure we set a realistic expectation. If you get into the network security concentration, I don't think you'll be out there breaking into people's systems and expecting them to pay you for it, other than if you're doing it illegally, which I wouldn't support, of course. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. I hope I've given you an overview of this concentration. If you have questions about it, any of the full-time IT faculty members can give you an overview of all the concentrations, and they can help you understand the ways to complete it, ways to declare it, some of those administrative things as well. And if you have specific questions, feel free to contact me through the departmental website. Thank you for your attention.